it, can we just use a cap rate on every asset, or do you get sort of found out on some assets?
Okay, so the short answer is kind of, because again, basis plays a role where like you
Yeah,
can't
I
just
suppose you
like I
can't
was saying
say
before,
no.
like I was saying before, like just because something's an 8 cap doesn't mean it's a great deal.
Right.
Just finding random 8 cap in the middle of X area does not mean it's a good. Just to give you some reference, one of the groups I work with, they found a mobile home park in upstate New York. It was a 14 cap, and they could not sell it. Could not sell it just because it was the most rural area you could possibly imagine. Like there was maybe 400 people who live in this area, and for it was like 30 miles to the next, even small
Right.
town, right? So cap rate isn't everything, but it sure does tell a good story, right? If you're willing to inherit X risk, right? Because everything
Right.
has a risk, so it's just defining what that risk is. Like I'll give you another example. I was looking to buy a building, a 16,000 square foot warehouse in New Jersey. Seller, I know at first based on my offer, I was offering something like a 9.5 cap. And because it was a sale leaseback, the guy was selling his business and he was getting the new owner to lease back the property, and then he would sell it. And what happened was it was a 9.5 cap. Then the leasee said, "I don't want to pay triple net, right? I only want to pay double net or something like that." Now all of a sudden my income drops drastically. Now it's still an 8.25 cap, but it's not a 9.5. But the problem here is now, based on the price per square foot metric and the cap rate, it's not a steal. And it's like based on now where I'm at price wise and where I need to be at now, because I have to now lower my price to make the same amount of money, because I still have
Right.
to add 100,000 for me or more, right? Ideally, or 50 grand or whatever I want to make. I can't make, no one's going to buy it for what it is right now, right? And if I have to
Right.
add 50 grand more, now it's a sub 8 cap. It's a struggle of a deal now. Right, like this guy,
Okay.
this leasee killed the deal. Just because it was an 8 cap doesn't mean it's a steal. It's knowing each of these markets, and every market, one town over, can be an 8 cap versus a 6 cap.
Yeah,
Right?
I'm not. I can't speak for Dave, but I'm not too worried about the valuation. Like I say, we've done some LOIs. We've got each other. We're in a little office. We've got co-star. We sort of figure it out. I suppose the one I think I might have mentioned this before. The one I always forget is you send an LOI. Like the LOI I'm using is your original, and I think there's like a commission in there. Like
Yeah.
so my question is like, what's your preferred? Is it like send the LOI with a commission on it, let's say 5%, and you just pocket the five, or would you rather just send it with nothing on it and then make the buyer pay more? Like what sort of
So
route is there's a
every
couple of
deal is
routes to
different.
go down?
Yeah, so every deal is different because, okay, so now that we've gone through lead and evaluate, next part is right that offer that you've presented, whether that's on a letter of intent or verbally. Which, by the way, it depends on the deal, right? Most of the time, like I'll give you some reference just for actual specifics of what we do here in my company. Okay, every one of my agents presents offers with a 6% commission with them on it, and with me as the buyer. That is our process. So for you guys, I would just flop it, right? So like whichever one is not the conversation piece, the other person's the broker or the
That's what we
investor,
do. That's
right?
what we
Like
do.
make it easy.
Dave's
Okay.
Dave's on no end of stuff he doesn't know about.
Yeah, he's actually in contract on 15 deals. He has no idea.
Yeah, I haven't told him yet.
But I would flip flop it because I would work well. But because then what you could say is like, okay, well, my buyer Dave is buying the deal. I'm the broker, 6%. Now you're getting both pieces. Because what I'm trying to do is drive down and price anchor the individual at a net profit to them of X, right? Which gives me the highest likelihood of making more, which I always will obviously have the buyer pay, the difference or the delta where the numbers still make sense. Now, here's the tricky piece. Obviously, not every single deal is going to have a delta. There's not always going to be a delta between what the seller wants and what the buyer's willing to pay, which is why I do both. I will never submit a letter of intent without a commission most of the time, unless it's literally me prospecting for me and I want to buy it. On the rare occasion, if I want to buy it, I will still add a friend of mine as the agent and make 6 points. Because then I'll say, hey, you're actually going to get paid 1% and I'm discounting my rate by 5 points. Regardless, I like having commission in there because no matter what, it's a 6-point buffer. Even if worst case scenario, you submit an offer and let's just say you end up offering way too much money. You screwed up, but you offered 6% commission on it and he's like, I'll take it. And you have a buyer who goes, I'll just take it at that price, right? Or maybe even a little bit less, you're still going to make something. Versus if you go no commission, you're going to struggle most of the time to always make sure you have a buffer.
Yeah, it gives you
that makes
6%
sense.
wiggle room, right? If you fuck up.
Listen, it is to me, sort of like a backstop. Like, okay, I at least have 6 points locked at like worst case. Could it be more? Sure. At worst case, I've got 6 locked, and all I have to do is get an offer at X price. Now, if I have to discount for whatever reason or go back to a retrade, I can do that, or I can give up some of my commission and only make 4 or 3. But I always have
It's funny because I haven't, just while you're on, I don't know how you deal with this, but I had one last week. Dave knows about it, obviously. Guy was like, I want 2.4 for this 5 unit or whatever in Greenwich.
Okay.
And I offered like the LOI was like 1.9. Then I followed up and I was like, look, I can only get my guy to 2.1. And he was like, all right, like write it up again, let me have a look at it. So I sent it for 2.1 and it had a 5% commission in. So he texts back and he's like, if I'm paying you 5%, I want 2.4, which is like, that makes no sense because even if he paid mine, like my commission's only 100 grand, like he should have said like 2.2, but just like, again, I don't know whether the guy's serious, but it's just like, as soon as he saw my commission, he added on like $300,000 in price. It's like weird.
This is why when I speak to individuals, you want to get like in a lot of this kind of negotiating pieces should be done over the phone, because if someone ever says to me, hey, you like I said 2.1, I don't if I have to pay your commission, I want 2.4. Now based on this conversation, obviously you can be like, well, just to be blunt, like we're only talking about 105 grand, not 300 grand. But
right.
If we just take a step back, John the seller, and just for a moment, and you say, hey, I want it. So just to be clear, you would accept this offer if it was 0 commission, correct? Yes.
Right.
Okay. So then just so I understand, as long as you net 2.1 million, my commission can be anything. It could be 5 grand, 25 grand, it could be 250 grand. It shouldn't matter because you want 2.1 million, correct? Yes. Okay, great. Now because I need to be anchoring them at a number which they're okay netting, right?
Right.
Because now this gives me the opportunity to go, okay, is it even possible for me to make any money? And I'll be saying, like, listen, Mr. Seller, let me be very clear. If I can't get any money above the 2.1, would you be okay paying me something, right? Like I can be blunt. I don't care, right? Like you need to be very direct with these individuals. Like, look, if I can't get my buyer to pay $1 over 2.1, right? Just to be clear, like my client is never going to do a deal, and I wouldn't expect you to ever do something in your type of business where you're not going to get paid $1, right? Is that fair? Yes. Okay, great. Right. Well, look, could you at least agree to pay me if it's at 2.1 to pay me a 2% commission? Yes. Like, look, which nets you $2,060,000 if I can only get them to 2.1. If I can get them to 2.1, I wouldn't take more than X%. You know what I mean? Like, you can talk blunt.
Yeah, we've actually learned that. It's funny. Like, I know there's not a big difference, but like we feel like with residential, we were so like proper, and now with commercial, it's just like, just tell these guys, like I don't work for free kind of thing,
For sure. No, I mean, look, most of the time they get it. Like,
yeah, it's commercial, right? It's like you say, it's not a house. There's no emotion. It's dollars and cents. If it works, it works.
For sure. And then, like, look, then once you've gotten that offer and you got a counter and you're working through the deal and you're negotiating on the fly, like, keep in mind that like now through the buyers, it's really about the beautiful thing is that as long as you're in a disclosure state, because there's some states like Texas, which is an absolute like I don't understand Texas whatsoever in the sense of it's a non-disclosure state, so they don't tell you what property sold for and who bought them, right? Like it makes zero sense whatsoever. I can't comprehend it. But anyways, like in states like New Jersey, right, and where they have like literally full disclosure, where it's like I know what a buyer paid and I know who they are, and I can probably get their number. So if they just bought a property or 2 properties last year in 2024 at X price per unit in X location, they probably will buy another.
Right.
So if I just say, hey, John the buyer, I saw you bought 2 properties last year in Greenwich, right, at X price per door, at a reasonable cap rate, I can imagine. Just curious, if I found you another property in Greenwich, would you consider taking a look at it? I'm a local broker who finds great off-market opportunity. Yeah, absolutely. Great. Well, it's funny you said that you would, because I have 2 of them right here, right? Like, if we go through them right here, do you have 5 minutes? Are you in front of a computer? Because I want to go through these quick 2 deals, because I think they could make a lot of sense.